guys, so today I'm going to be looking at more short stories with a twist. So yeah, let's just get right into the video. A balding, white-haired man from Florida walked into a jewelry store this past Friday evening with a beautiful, much younger woman at his side. He told the jeweler he was looking for a special ring for his girlfriend. The jeweler looked through his stock and brought out a $5,000 ring. The man said, "No, I'd like to see something more special." At that statement, the jeweler went to his special stock and brought another ring over. "Here's a stunning ring at only $40,000, the jeweler said. The lady's eyes sparkled and her whole body trembled with excitement. The old man seeing this said, "We'll take it." The jeweler asked how payment would be made, and the man stated, "By check. I know you need to make sure my check is good, so I'll write it now, and you can call the bank Monday to verify the funds, and I'll pick the ring up on Monday afternoon." On Monday morning, the jeweler angrily phoned the old man and said, "There's no money in that account." "I know," said the old man, "but let me tell you about my great weekend." Oh, so he said that only for the girl to be like excited and to give him what he wants? Wow. That's cunning. Now what though? Now what? So I'm guessing after the girl leaves him, he's gonna do this to other girls too. During a funeral, the pallbearers accidentally bump into a wall and hear a faint moan. They open the casket and find out the woman is actually alive. She lives for 10 more years and then dies. There is another funeral for her. At the end of the service, the pallbearers carry out the casket. As they are walking out, the husband cries out, "Watch out for the wall!" No! Is it because the husband was the one who wants her to be buried? So even though she's actually alive, he wants people to think that she's dead. So this time she's still alive too. That's why he's like, "Oh no, don't bump into the wall and don't wake her up again." Whoa, that twist though. I didn't expect that. Watch out for the wall. Well, 3 guys die and go to heaven. God tells them, "Your vehicle in heaven will be determined based on how well you treated your wife." The first guy says, "I never cheated on my wife." As such, he gets a Lamborghini. The second guy says, "I cheated on my wife a little," so he gets a used car. The third guy says, "I cheated on my wife a lot," so he gets a motorcycle. The second and third guy sees the first guy crying. They ask, "Why are you crying? You got the best vehicle of all." The first guy says, "I just saw my wife on roller skates." Oh no, that's actually hilarious though. Roller skates, that's their vehicle. Wow. So what's like the worst one? Just barefoot? One Monday morning, the postman is walking through the neighborhood on his usual route, delivering the mail. As he approaches one of the homes, he noticed that both cars were still in the driveway. His wonder was cut short by David, the homeowner, coming out with a load of empty beer, wine and spirit bottles for the recycling bin. "Wow, David, looks like you guys had a party last night," the postman comments. David, in obvious pain, replies, "Actually, we had it Saturday night. This is the first I have felt like moving since 4 a.m. Sunday morning. We had about 15 couples from around the neighborhood over for some weekend fun and it got a bit wild. We all got so drunk around midnight that we all started playing Who Am I?" The postman thinks a moment and says, "How do you play Who Am I?" Well, all the guys go in the bedroom and they come out one at a time, covered with a sheet with only the family jewels showing through a hole in the sheet. Family jewels? Then the women try to guess who it is. The postman laughs and says, "Sounds like fun. I'm sorry I missed it." "Probably a good thing you did," David responded. "Your name came up 7 times. The people who said his name cheated on their partner. He should be glad he wasn't there too. "Doctor, my wife is not hearing well lately, but I don't want to tell her as it will make her upset. Well, I need a bit of information first to prescribe you. How bad is it? Does she listen to you when you talk from across the room? Is the problem constant during the day, etc., etc.?" So the guy returns home to perform the test on his wife in order to tell the doctor. He sees that his wife is at the back of the garden taking care of the plant with her back to him. He starts at 50 feet. "Darling, what do we have for dinner?" No answer. He moves in closer at 30 feet. "My love, what do we have for dinner?" No answer. He moves in at 15 feet. "My dear, what do we have for dinner?" Still no answer. Getting worried that things are worse than what he thought, he moves in closer at 5 feet. "Honey, what do we have for dinner?" Still no answer. He moves in just behind her and says confidently, "Sweetheart, what do we have for dinner?" And his wife turns around and says, for the 5th time, "Roast with potatoes." So he's the one that can't hear. So he thinks his wife can't hear him, but he's the one that can't hear his wife. Whoa. That's sad. Yeah, for the 5th time.
Roast with potatoes.
Hey, well at least he did a test on himself, right? So he can tell the doctor now. A doctor says to his patient, I have bad news and worse news. Oh dear, what's the bad news? Asks the patient. The doctor replies, you only have 24 hours to live. That's terrible, said the patient. How can the news possibly be worse? The doctor replies, I've been trying to contact you since yesterday. Oh no. That is the saddest news ever. Honestly. You get news that you only have 24 hours to live, except your 24 hours is over.
How could they?
A couple was Christmas shopping at the mall on Christmas Eve and the mall was packed. As the wife walked through the mall, she was surprised to look up and see her husband was nowhere around. She was quite upset because they had a lot to do. Because she was so worried, she called him on her mobile phone to ask him where he was. In a calm voice, the husband said, honey, you remember the jewelry store we went into about 5 years ago where you fell in love with that diamond necklace that we could not afford and I told you that I would get it for you one day? The wife choked up and started to cry and said, yes, I remember that jewelry store. He said, well, I'm in the bar right next to it. Oh, it was just to give her directions, that's all. Wow, so not yet. He can't afford it yet, but one day, right? One day. Two friends, Betty and Wanda, end up in heaven and are having a catch-up chat. Hi Wanda. Hi Betty, how'd you die? I froze to death. How horrible. It wasn't so bad. After I quit shaking from the cold, I began to get warm and sleepy and finally died a peaceful death. What about you? I died of a massive heart attack. I suspected that my husband was cheating, so I came home early to catch him in the act. But instead, I found him all by himself in the den watching TV. So what happened? I was so sure there was another woman there somewhere that I started running all over the house looking. I ran up into the attic and searched, and down into the basement. Then I went through every closet and checked under all the beds. I kept this up until I had looked everywhere, and I became so exhausted that I just kneeled over with a heart attack and died. Too bad you didn't look in the freezer. We'd both still be alive. Betty was the one cheating with her husband? So her husband was cheating with Betty and Betty was scared, so she hid in the freezer, and Wanda just exhausted herself because she couldn't find that person. If only she looked in the freezer earlier, then both of them will still be alive, but they will hate each other, that's all. No. Well. Hi Bob, I really need your advice on a serious problem. I have suspected for some time now that my wife has been cheating on me. The usual signs, if the phone rings and I answer, the caller hangs up. She goes out with the girls a lot. I try to stay awake to look out for her when she comes home, but I usually fall asleep. Anyway, last night about midnight, I hid in the shed behind the boat. When she came home, she got out of someone's car, buttoning her blouse. Then she took her panties out of her purse and slipped them on. It was at that moment, crouched behind the boat, that I noticed a hairline crack in the outboard engine mounting a bracket. Is that something I can build, or do I need to replace the whole bracket? Oh, I thought they were gonna ask about the wife cheating, but now they asked about the boat. When your boat is more important than your wife. A woman was in town on a shopping trip. She began her day finding the most perfect shoes in the first shop and a beautiful dress on sale in the second. In the third, everything had just been reduced by 50% when her mobile phone rang. It was a female doctor notifying her that her husband had just been in a terrible car accident and was in critical condition and in the ICU. The woman told the doctor to inform her husband where she was and that she'd be there as soon as possible. As she hung up, she realized she was leaving what she was shaping up to be her best day ever in the boutiques. She decided to get in a couple of more shops before heading to the hospital. She ended up shopping the rest of the morning, finishing her trip with a cup of coffee and a beautiful chocolate cake slice, compliments of the last shop. She was jubilant. Feeling guilty, she dashed to the hospital. She saw the doctor in the corridor and asked about her husband's condition. The lady doctor glared at her and shouted, "You went ahead and finished your shopping trip, didn't you? I hope you're proud of yourself. While you were out for the past 3 hours enjoying yourself in town, your husband has been languishing in the intensive care unit. It's just as well as you went ahead and finished because it will more than likely be the last shopping trip you ever take. For the rest of his life, he will require round-the-clock care, and you will now be his carer." The woman was feeling so guilty she broke down and sobbed. The lady doctor then chuckled and said, "I'm just pulling your leg. He's dead. Show me what you bought." What? I don't know what I just read. Hold on a second. How does that make it any better? I'm confused. Can someone please explain this one to me? Well, that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me in the comments down below what your thoughts are. And as always, thanks for watching. Hope you guys liked it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!